social utopia or whatever that you're simply up against.
Probably use the microphone. Social
Repeat that.
You feel. I can't even remember what I just said. But I chatting with my dad and my uncle, very, very smart men. But I get the impression that their kind of trajectory of what they think has changed throughout their lives. And so I don't think when you come out and say something that necessarily commits you to believing that through the rest of your life. And I think maybe the place for angry young men with microphones is a bit of a check and a balance on the system, that there has to be slightly outlandish views put out there, simply so they are put out there, so they're remembered. That said, this is generally what I think. Yeah, I wrote this piece, I think, in a successive string of evenings after coming home after feeling like my boss was just fucking me right over, you know. And it's called Bricks Carved Out of Words. I've heard word of revolution, a solution to be gleaned between the extremes of socialism and cutthroat capitalism. Russell Brand shouts at Jeremy Paxman. Change is in the air. Slumped against the Royal Bank of Scotland, just across North Bridge in Edinburgh, there sat a young homeless bloke one winter evening. Now I've got on 2 coats and a hat as I withdraw cash from the machine next to him. It's cold in Scotland. Some people know this better than others. This bloke's not much older than me. Politely he asks for my spare change. Only had an unbroken note, so he asked about my day. Said, yeah mate, it's been okay, how about yours? More of the same, the guy replied, and each of us said a few more lines until the machine returned my credit card. I'll be back this way in an hour, I told him, and I'll pass on my spare change if this 20 quid's broken. This guy said something I'll never forget as I turned to leave. This boy says, thank you for talking to me. Thank you for talking to me. The problem we face as a species is not necessarily rooted in economic inequality, more in inequality in our distribution of humanity. The reality is we labour out of self-interest, and I'm no Marxist or pretend otherwise, but I'm fucking mystified as to how a nice jacket gives me a social status so that someone who may well freeze and die that night has to thank me for extending to them the most basic human decency. I'm angry. I'm angry at an arrogance in our society that says for every winner there has to be a loser, and I'm fucking angry at all these people that look me up and down and expect me to feed into an entrenched elitist conformity because I'm white and I'm smart and I'm privileged. For the first time, I'm not apologising for it. I'm middle class, but I'm no wake up guilty for my draw in this life's lottery. I am guilty of the fact I was born into a warm house, but speaking out means more to me now than my bank account. So when I dismiss privilege, I know what I'm talking about. I've lived it. Now critics are already raising their fists, looking at me thinking this boy doesn't know shit. PhD economists ready to hit back with their facts as they're getting irate, but I'm changing the point of this debate. Let's assume I'm an idiot, and that anyone in agreement is also a tit. Art students after one too many drinks, hipsters who feel underserved by the benefit. Interviewed actors with long words with no relevance or social disturbance just for the hell of it. It's easy to look at this lot as people who are bitter and can't be bothered with a job, and then all it takes is an educated snob to come along and say you don't even know what you're talking about. Fine. But that doesn't change the fact that something feels wrong in my bones, and that hundreds of millions of people from all walks of life are beginning to feel the same, like there's a cancer we can't pinpoint yet. But when some people come into this world with trust funds and others with fetal alcohol syndrome, how do we have the audacity to pretend we live in an equal opportunity society when for some internships a 21st birthday present, while for the rest hard-fought minimum wage pay slips are the difference between a family's starvation and continuation? Don't tell me a person's salvation in this nation is dependent on hard work. It's dependent on being on an inner circle, which I'm regarding as a target, and I'm going to blast it. I am sick of leftist liberal lip service from liberal pricks. You can take your lip service and pay lip service to my dick. This isn't political. This is anger and frustration from someone who was continually told I can't understand the situation and to remember my station in the world. So now I'm throwing bricks carved out of words. This is a verbal riot undeterred by the fact I shouldn't be saying it. I work a shit job and I hate every day of it. I resent being someone's bitch to get slim pay slips, knowing that with every hour passed I'm curling my fists tighter because I'm a worker, but I'm also a fighter, and I'm also a thinker, and I think of the people worse off than me, which is the vast majority. And yet I feel a certain solidarity when we look at the minority way out at sea on their yachts, knowing that there's the rest of us scrabbling for scraps like dogs, which has given them what they've got, and that will only ever stop when we decide it's going to stop. But don't misinterpret this as some sort of communist plot. This isn't political. I'm angry at excess and arrogance. Working in catering, I used to serve vast plates of smoked salmon to people who've had everything all their lives served from on platters. And what got me was when they didn't say thank you, fuck you. I was smiling, but I wanted to nut you. Your pretty suit won't protect you, and I know you got to where you got by managing your money and never giving a free lunch, but manners cost nothing, you stingy fat cunt. I've seen lots of pigs walking around on two legs more equal than the rest of us. And if we're getting Orwellian, know that sex itself is an act of rebellion. The only thing I want to fuck is the system. Listen. This isn't wisdom, this is schism. This isn't some grand vision, this is a collision in my head of what I was told was right and what I see to be wrong, exploding like nuclear fission-driven ammunition against the prevalent political position. But I've seen people treated like dirt on a daily basis. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, congratulations, you've never had to face it. The degree is soon to become obsolete because the market is saturated with graduates and secondary education is hyperinflated like its own currency. So it doesn't matter now if you get A's and B's, it matters who your dad plays golf with in between paying your fees. But it's hypocrisy for me to even complain about the thousands of dollars indebted on my degree, because at least it lifts me out of what is literally becoming a second-class citizenry comprised of non-university attendees. In many of the states, McDonald's requires a Bachelor of Arts before it grants a person the privilege of serving Big Macs, and so naturally everyone beneath that is just white trash or dumb blacks. And when people are made to feel second-rate, they tend to try to overcompensate, which is why the minimum wage is pumped straight back into consumer goods, designer shoes, meaningless tattoos, lowered cars, padded bras, discount spas, ums and ahs, in this charade of endless consumerism, which more than any other system keeps people imprisoned, because the powers that be know that the majority is predominantly motivated for a life built around nice things, which makes them puppets on strings dancing for the latest iPhone. But I won't live by ringtones or bank loans or colognes. I'm skin and bones and a set of stones. I don't need to shit you off, so I'm stronger than you know. This isn't political. I'm just pissed off. Pissed off and ready to pull up my stake in society if it will allow me to ram it through the heart of the bloodsuckers that are bleeding me dry. This isn't a cry for attention, this isn't some great moral lesson. I'm just angry. Angry at the body of people who always turn the other cheek. I want to be a finger in a fist that breaks that body's teeth and knees. I'm sick of being called an anarchist or a socialist or a Marxist simply for the crime of trying to give two shits, and after this, the ist they'll prefix my name with may well be terrorist, but you know what, if that's my lot, if that's what I've got to take to make a point, I won't change whatever names you call me. And if that would allow me to run headlong into taking the steps to change the society from one where people aren't reduced to thank you for talking to me, I'll wear your insults proudly. I'm from privilege, and I always thought that meant I couldn't address this, but revolution hinges on middle-class auspexes. So I won't look the other way to excess, and I won't accept arrogance when it suppresses the rest. And this is the test I put to the beating hearts in all of your chests. It's difficult, but we can change these things, I've said. For many of you like me, this world could be easy. It's not easy just to forget.